What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another emergency episode of Snap on Ego. My name is Brad, otherwise known as Bradsifer, as always. And of course, I am joined by my wonderful co-host and host of this wonderful channel you're watching the episode on. It's Chris Bootman Boutte. Hello. How are you this wonderful Wednesday evening?
I'm pissed, Brad. No, you know what we need? We need an alarm sound effect for like emergency episodes. But yeah, there's a lot of people losing their collective shit over Loki. And I hit Brad up on Discord. I'm like, yo, we need to chat. We need to chat. Leave work early. No, I'm kidding. We're on different time zones. He's off. But but yeah, we're gonna be chatting about Loki because people are losing their minds, calling for nerfs, saying it's overpowered, all that. I guess maybe we should start. What are your personal first impressions on Loki? Nobody else's opinions. Are you liking it? Are you having fun?
Okay, well, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Loki is obviously stronger than I envisioned him on paper. Truly, like there's no. You know what I've noticed? It has a very similar play pattern to Devil Dino decks to an extent. Of like, of course, there's a lot of already existing synergies with like adding stuff to hand, like Devil Dino wants, and you'll even see Devil Dino in a lot of these lists that you've seen with these Loki decks running around, which there are a ton of them. There is no definitive best deck. He hasn't even been out for a full, it's been like 36 hours.
God, oh God. I'm getting upset just thinking about it.
But anyway, he's stronger than I initially thought. The turn 6 play of like, what's the classic Devil Dino play ever since we got Agent Coulson? Okay, it's Dino on 5, Mystique followed by Coulson on 6. Right now, I love doing Coulson into Loki on 6. It's so good and it's really fun. And not only is, of course, his interaction with Collector very strong, but the ability to just take your opponent's deck and say, I'm going to be more efficient than you, is very good as well. But we will get into a little bit in regards to that aspect. That's one thing that people are a little upset about, I've noticed. And again, the whole reason we're having this emergency episode is because people, like you alluded to, are pissed and upset about Loki. But there are decks that Loki just doesn't benefit from as far as getting your cards besides the collector buff. But otherwise, what do you think so far? Just quick blanket thing.
Yeah.
We'll get into the let's do this. Give it just like the same thing. Blanket idea of how you enjoyed Loki or like whatever you think of him. But let's not get into the details of like what people are angry about quite yet, because I want to, pull some receipts up.
Yeah, you do that while I go on. Like, I fucking love the card. I love the card. Like, I always say, because, content creators and all of us, we get questions. Oh, is this worth buying? Is this da-da-da-da-da? And, like, I have my own criteria, which I think most people should use. Is the card fun? Is it competitive, right? And, like, I think this card fits both of those. And, like, that's dope. Like, it's a playstyle I like playing. Like, this card made me realize that it's a playstyle that I like playing, even though I've always said it, because I love bounce, but I also love like hand size decks, right? There was like a season when I used like my Agent Dino deck to get to Infinite, and it was like one that ran like Lady Sif and Ghost Rider and Helicarrier and Collector, like those are just fun decks, like because you catch people off guard, you're generating random cards. When they buffed Nick Fury, like I love playing that too. So like, yeah, this is just a branch of that. I just have a lot of fun playing it. Like it's weird. Like I never get upset going up against other Lokis. And I'll save this for a minute, but like, I feel like we've already been here before. It's something that just happens in Marvel Snap, and it's just weird. People are freaking out. So let's dive into that. But anyways, I'm having a blast with the card. I think he's fine where it is. I could see a nerf coming like where he's a 3/4, maybe.
Yeah, no, and that's what we saw him data mined as. Do you think this is potentially a repeat of Legion again, where they felt in their own private testing and they're like, you know what, we don't think he's going to be as played as we hope or whatever. Let's bump him up just a little point and see what happens. Because he was data mined as a 3/4.
It could be like on that, like when they did that with Legion and Glenn responded, I was like, holy shit, you guys, first off, appreciate how transparent Second Dinner is. Like, they straight up said that they kicked up Legion's power before he launched to make him more enticing, so more people got him, and now they tuned him down. Like the Battle Pass card is a legitimate give me money type deal, right? Like, you're only getting that card unless you wait months and like you wait for the Series 5 release, you know, whatever. Like, I wonder if they're like, it worked with Legion. Let's kick this up a power, get more people to buy the fucking Battle Pass. You know, by the way, but if you guys are listening, like, I trust that we have some of the smartest, most amazing listeners out there, but for the love of God, just buy the Battle Pass every month, right? I don't care how much you hate Second Dinner and like their pricing on like variants and bundles and everything. The Battle Pass is an insane value, and it's a way to support the game that you love, all right? You can hate everything else, but if you want them to at least keep the lights on, spend $10 a month. Like, just do it, all right? Don't get your avocado toast, you damn millennials, you know?
The millennials are killing the Snap economy. It's their fault.
Yeah. All right. But what are people bitching about, Brad? Like, I saw your tweet, and then I tweeted, and then the flood of just bad takes, that's when I messaged you. So
this started initially when I saw, perfectly in line with one another, Nina is Noob, followed by friend of the show and recent guest, W, back-to-back tweets right on my timeline. And I'll go in order. And basically what I did is I took a screenshot of them saying, I've seen a lot of sentiment of this, and I asked the community, what do you think about the card? Nina said, after playing with Loki for 2 days, I don't think this card is healthy for the game. Mirror matches are especially painful and all come down to who draws Collector, Quinjet, and Loki, and who can get more Collectors and Lokis with their Loki. Okay, so do you want to address them one at a time, or you want me to just bundle them together?
Yeah, fire off W's too.
All right, then W said, the game is absolutely broken right now. Can't play good cards. Loki/Quinjet plays them better. Try and counter, but it's an uphill battle, and you're the only one playing a fair game. So you join them, and now it's all who drew the stuff. That's no fun. None of this is fun. And he added Marvel Snap. So let me go back to what Nina said, and they both kind of say the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It comes down to like, do you draw the cards?
Yeah, real quick too, because we decided we're gonna be name dropping people just so we have to be really annoying, just being like one creator, right? Like, yeah. Like, we love and respect W and Nina. Obviously, we just had W on. W's like a mastermind at Marvel Snap and makes amazing decks and stuff like that. But like, just realize you can disagree with like friends or people you like and people that you respect. So if we have different opinions, that's all they are. It doesn't mean we hate anybody or we're talking shit. We could disagree on stuff. All right? Cool. Go ahead, Brad.
So yeah, no shit talking here, just straight up reading what they say verbatim and responding to it. And so they both say the same thing in a way, regards to when you're playing the mirror match, it comes down to who draws the cards. And look, that is true to an extent. Okay, I'll get into the other little details in a second, but of course, yes, in a mirror match, hey, if I'm playing you and we're playing in Conquest, we're doing like friendly battle, all right, Chris? Let's say we're both playing the Infinite deck or the High Evonaut deck with like High Evolutionary and stuff. Okay, let's say we're both doing that. Okay, in a given game, in a given game. Let's say I draw the nuts. I go Sunspot on one, Misty Knight and like Nebula. I have all my 1-drops. I got Cyclops down. I'm doing some nice floating. You know, I get Magic down, and then I hit you with the Leech on 5, float on 6, and then go She-Hulk, Infinite, or She-Hulk and Hulk on turn 7. And meanwhile, you on the other hand never drew into any of your 1-drops. You played a Cyclops on curve on 3. You played a Magic on 4.
Draw, right?
Yep. Guess what? I'm going to win that game because I drew my cards in the mirror match and you didn't. Now, yes, that is somewhat an oversimplification because this is a little bit different. But you want to know what else? What's going to be super accentuated and just honed in on of the importance of a mirror match for these cards when they're stealing your opponent's deck entirely? And how many times have you played Loki so far? Because I know this has been almost every single mirror match for me that I've played Loki and I'm like, wow, I have another Loki from my opponent. Hooray. Yeah. And that's why you see these collectors at 19, 22 power, like rivaling Hulk and Infinite and things like that. Real quick reminder for those at home, when you play this deck inevitably in a week or two, right? Maybe a month down the road. And the mirror matches have gone down because maybe Mobius is out and it's proven to represent a really good deck, and that deck's presence in the meta has brought down the presence of Loki decks a little bit towards a more healthy rate. And you don't go into mirror matches every single game. You're not going to have collectors at 20 power unless you get really crazy stuff with like cloning vats. Cloning vats is the only way you can do it on your own, where you go collector into that, collector again, and then just Loki. Like, right? That's the only way that you can really do that. Otherwise, it's going to be good. You're going to get buffs and everything like that, but that's not going to just be the end all be all.
Yeah. It's so weird to me. Here's just like I've just felt like I've been taking crazy pills all day. Like with the analogy you just gave, like everybody, we've been here before. We have been here before, time and time again. Like I said this on Twitter in response to, I think, Peaceful C. Like we literally just had a month, an entire month, where every single weekend there were destroy missions. Every single weekend. And wasn't it about who drew their null, who drew their death, right? Yeah. Like we were just there. And like, are people forgetting when High Evolutionary just came out? Like, that was insane. I still hate playing High Evolutionary decks just because the 24 hours that I spent doing nothing but playing against High Evolutionary, and it was who drew Luke Cage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you guys, like, this is what happens when decks get popular and you go into those mirrors. Like, that's just what it is. But like you're saying too, like, I don't know how to put this into the right words, because I'm like very into like mindfulness and staying into the present. But this has made me realize that there's a way to be in the now in the worst possible way, right? Like, something's happening right now and people just can't like reflect on the past or envision the future. Right? Like with what you just said, like in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, especially when Mobius comes out, like, and the play rate just gradually goes down, right? Like, you guys, we see play rates fall off a cliff if they take 1 power off a card. You know what I mean?
All the fucking time. Yeah. And it's like as if the card just is unplayable all of a sudden. And I'm pretty sure W said that at his panel at SnapCon, where he's like, stop dropping cards just because a point got knocked off of them.
Yeah,
please.
People are naturally just going to get bored of this, and they're gonna stop playing it, right? And Loki's gonna catch you off guard, and it's not gonna be doing the things. But it's very just nearsighted to be so like just upset about it right now. Like you mentioned too, like, you guys, we're recording this on September 6th. That card came out at 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern on September 4th. All right, we are less than 48 hours in and people are losing it. Like, you can't even judge a card. Like, first off, you can't judge a card like within that amount of time. But second off, like, everybody's running mirrors. Like, nobody's even attempting to counter this card right now. All I see is like, oh, here's my Loki Infinite deck. Here's my Loki Infinite deck. I haven't seen, I just now, right before we hopped on, I saw a post that says, here's my deck that's doing pretty good against Loki decks. That was the only one. That's the only one I've seen. Right? Like,
now Den did also do one as well. Den was one of the writers over on Snapzone. We'll get to that tweet as well in a few minutes. But here's the thing about this, and this is very common in TCGs and just card games in general. You know what we call moments like this, Chris? It's two ships passing. Yes, 2 ships passing in the night. Okay, I'm sure you've heard that expression, and it's very popular in card games. When you have decks that seemingly are kind of going around a combo in a sense, where I wouldn't say Loki decks are all in on that, but when you really want to get into your Quinjet, into Collector and Loki kind of play, then yeah, there's a little bit of that combo thing. And if everyone's just playing the Loki deck and you're going against mirror match after mirror match, then of course there's not going to be as much interaction. And you're just going to be like, okay, who can scale their collectors bigger? Who can multiply their collectors? Who can play Loki first to take your opponent's collector and then drop collector who only costs 1, then Loki who only costs 2 now from your opponent because you just got them from the mirror match? These things, again, are accentuated and, again, overly honed in on because of the presence of the card being so new. You mentioned High Evolutionary as a thing as well when that first dropped. You want to remember something else, Chris? Not only did you have High Evo decks being the only thing you saw on ladder for like 48, 72 hours, right? They were bad decks. They were
Yeah.
bad because everyone was trying to do everything at once. The one I saw, the most common one, was of course the Luke Cage hazmat and like shit like that, like just
Yeah.
the afflict stuff, which ended up being the one that didn't become a deck. The 2 decks that arose were Lockdown and Lockjaw when it
Yeah.
was all said and done. So we're still at the baby steps of, first off, you can't even approach the idea of nerfing a card this early for 2 reasons. One, we don't have enough data to represent everything. And 2, the data that we do have is going to be skewed to all hell because of the presence of mirror matches and how many people want to play the card. Because whether you like it or not, Loki is a very interesting and fun fucking card that a lot of people are just like, this is cool. I like doing this.
The Loki decks do what like just hits like the biggest dopamine flood for Marvel Snap players, which is get big numbers. And so I wanted to talk about this, and I wanted to bring up, like, right before we hopped on, I was watching KM Best's video, and again, this is not talking shit, this is a criticism, it's a strong criticism, but anyways, I love his commentary. I think Cam is one of the smartest people in the game, but I think he gets overly excited and overhypes things. I think when he sees something come out and win a tournament or does well on the ladder, it becomes like the best thing. Like, he just had the best deck, but he just made a video on the new best Loki deck, and his tweet actually said, Loki is broken. And I don't think it helps anything when one of the largest creators is saying, this is broken. Now people have that validation. But then I watched his video, and like, I just got bummed out because he I don't want to quote him, but he says something along the lines of like he's asking, he's saying like, hey, leave it in the comments. Like, what can counter this? I don't know of anything. Like, the numbers just get so big. What can you counter? I'm just like, but you just said it, right? We have a card that exists and has existed since the dawn of Marvel Snap that takes out big cards. How many Loki decks do you know running Armor? How many Loki decks do you know running Cosmo? You know what I mean? Like, we have those things, it's just people are not running them. There's so many mirrors, and I understand why people aren't running counter cards in their mirrors, because it screws you.
It's a race. Again, 2 ships passing a night. When your meta devolves into who can get to number faster, who can get to X card faster, the tech cards, the interaction cards get dropped out of decks and the race cards get added in. And that's what we're seeing right now. But that makes sense because it's so new. It's gonna be like that. And also, people are still trying to find the best deck, like with the Haivo thing.
But isn't it weird how people have blinders on? Like they just can't think of anything. Like, I was shocked. I was shocked when I saw KMS say, are there any cards that get rid of cards with big numbers? I can't think of anything. I'm like, holy shit, Loki just fucking broke Canvas. You know what I mean? Like, we have cards that exist, and the argument is like, well, if you run Shang-Chi, then they get your Shang-Chi. Well, then don't run cards that die to Shang-Chi, right? Like, do other things. My favorite Loki deck right now runs Shadow King, and it's been stomping fools. If they Loki as well, I play around that. I try to keep my numbers low until a turn 6 dump. You know what I mean? Where I'm playing, like you said, the Loki into, or the Agent Coulson into Loki, or whatever it is. Mine also runs Sarah, so I could do some silly ass shit, right? Like, I could do
you can go Shadow King to disrupt one of their collectors. Then you can go into Coulson to add the cards and Loki to pump.
I can even tag my stuff and then buff it back up. You know what I mean? If I don't have priority, you know, there's all sorts of, like, there's so many things, but people are so obsessed with generating those big numbers. And with what you were talking about with data, like, I mentioned this earlier before we hopped on, like, I think Glenn is literally looking at the data like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Like, with the limited data we even have on Untapped, Loki's not the top deck. It's not, right? Last season, the Silk deck had like a high 60s or low 70s percentage win rate. Like, that's fucking bonkers. That is a high win rate. The Loki decks have like below 60. Like, that's what? Like, what? You know what I mean? Nobody was calling for, well, some people were calling for the Silk deck to get nerfed, and it kind of got hit a little. But yeah, like, when it comes to the data, like, we need to move away from our anecdotal, like, experiences and our feelings and be like, what's actually happening? But you guys, like, right now, like, run your counter cards. If you're bored with Loki already, fucking run your counters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, we want to get into let's see. So I know Den had his post about Loki, right? About decks that Loki will find annoying. And like we were talking about earlier, not every deck is great for Loki because Loki picks up some stuff that he can't use. So, oh my god, and Twitter just reset as I found
I have his thread right here.
Thank you.
So he put how to annoy Loki. High Evo. Fucking great idea. If you've played Loki against a high Evo deck, you're just like, fuck. Because for those of you who don't know, and some people don't, I just had somebody ask me this on Twitter, Loki copies cards from the starting deck. So he will not copy Thanos' stones because the stones are added to the deck, and he won't copy high Evo ability cards because those abilities are added after the game starts. So high Evo
when
decks
you see those pretty animations, that's a reminder. This is happening once the game starts.
Yeah.
Deck gets added, then abilities. Like it's
So when you're playing against high Evo, you'll copy their Hulk, you'll copy their Cyclops, whatever, but they're not doing the things that make that deck powerful. So that was one counter. The other one that he said that I've actually heard a lot of people say lately, like they're acting like they're fucking kids in a candy store. Hella discard decks. People are like, yeah, I just do this. Like I've played against a few and I have to save all of their discard cards until the very end. You know what I mean? Yeah. I gotta do it, and then I gotta save them for like my turn 6 because you can't use them. What else did he put on here? Samurai Black Bolt to reduce hand size. Lockjaw, their deck doesn't have good stuff. Cerebro, he put Shadow King Valkyrie for collector. I was watching Jeff Hoagland's stream earlier. He was running Valkyrie most of the day. It was demolishing those decks. It was just destroying.
Again, it resets a card like Collector, and like and also bringing down Loki, who's very nicely statted as a 3/5 down, bringing down cards that Mirage has stolen from you again down to 3 because most likely they're grabbing a card that is going to be, if it's a 1 or 2 cost, maybe a 3 cost, it's probably going to have 3 or more power, and then +2 that resets it. So you have all these tools available that people are just refusing to use, and I don't blame them to an extent because they want to try a new shiny toy. And the best way to try a new shiny toy is play the decks that creators are peddling out there saying this is the best Loki deck.
Yeah.
But they don't know what the best Loki deck is because the same people that said this is the best high Evo deck in 24 hours of release is a deck that's not even played anymore. So we'll find that sweet spot eventually because two things are going to happen. A, Loki decks will stop homogenizing themselves and find that sweet spot of you'll have 1, 2, maybe 3 total decks that are the decks, the by the numbers best version of the deck. Because I could see the Loki collector thing being a smaller package similar to like a Darkhawk package that goes in with other decks. Okay, so there's that first thing. Number 2 is once those decks are discovered and honed in on and figured out of being like these are the meta decks, then the counters have a much clearer answer of what they need to bring to the table to be able to combat that deck, the same thing that we saw with High Evo. And if they need to nerf it from that point, which again, this is why I wish and I would like to see an emergency announcement from Second Dinner where they swap the release dates of Alioth and Mobius, because it makes more sense flavorfully, right? It goes Loki into Mobius, which I mean that, and if you see in the show, they're great buds, they're friends, and Alioth being your big bad, being the one that is the finale of the season, and then Renslayer being in the middle, that makes way more sense to me. And also, of course, because it's supposedly going to be a counter, and if a Mobius deck ends up being a good enough deck to see a decent amount of play, like 5%, 10%, or whatever of the meta, then that's going to cause an influx of cards to actually come up for counters and bring down the Loki deck appearance percentage. It's all it takes. People in my replies have been saying a single counter is not going to be good enough to stop Loki. I fucking wholeheartedly disagree because all it takes is one deck that has a decent showing in the meta to simply bring down another deck by a handful of percentage. And that completely will shift an entire meta. We see this in TCGs all the fucking time. And that's even more so accentuated in a 12-card deck.
How can people even argue that when, like we were just saying, you shave 1 point of power off a card and people are like, oh, fucking unplayable, you know? but yeah. And that's the thing. Mobius completely counters Loki. But here's the thing that I was just thinking too, as you were saying that, like with the release schedule and stuff, what I assume, if I was, I'm always trying to put myself in second dinner shoes, I'm assuming that they were like, let's let people have their Loki fun.
Yeah, I know. I think that too.
Then we'll release Mobius. So it's like, hey, like second dinner sitting around like, oh, fuck us for trying to let people have some fun. Now they're bitching that we don't have this card released until the end of the month. But yeah, like, but speaking of the other cards, like, you guys, I've been dreading next week for well over a month now. It keeps me up at night, all right? Alioth is coming out, okay? Like, I found Galactus annoying, but you and I defended Galactus. We even had our season where we hit infinite with Galactus. But next week, I'm gonna wanna die, all right? Whenever I do my my season pass giveaways, this season was bigger than most because I was giving away 10 like you did and all of us other creators. But I always ask, what card are you most excited for? So many are Alioth. I'm like, you fucking Galactus-loving troll motherfuckers, right? That's all we're gonna see. And everybody's gonna be like, or Loki who? Loki what? Right?
Side note, by the way, quick aside. Shout out to Second Dinner. For those of you who aren't aware, all of us in the creator program received 10 season pass codes to give away explicitly for giveaways. And that is like over 100 creators, which means over 1,000 codes were given out for free season passes to people. That is so great. That is the exact type of thing you want to see your parent companies and your developers promoting to increase growth and engagement with the community. Very awesome. Huge shout out to Second Dinner again. Thanks so much for letting us do that. I just want people to be aware, if they weren't already, that we didn't just normally what happens each month is like Chris or I will set aside like a little extra money and buy like $50 worth of like season passes, right? Or at least have that money put aside. And then we'll do the whole thing of like, we'll get people Snap ID when they win and go into the store and buy it for them. And then you have to be like, have you opened your client yet? No, please go open your fucking client because it doesn't let you click on the season pass if they haven't opened the client yet to see it. But this has been so much better.
Didn't even realize that.
Yeah, so if you ever have that, by the way, if you ever try to buy on the store for someone and basically you have to be like, hey, make sure you open it because it won't let you. But yeah, Second Dinner, you're fucking awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, they've been real quick. They've been killing it lately, especially I want to say especially for us creators, but it shows like just the community aspect of it because they just did like the huge PC launch, right? They enabled Twitch drops, which helps us creators as well, builds more of a community. And like everybody's just winning. Like it's just this synergy of winning. This is something like we've been talking about forever. They just had Cozy and Dexter in the season launch video, right? Brought them down. They've for the last few months, like I was fortunate enough to do a video for the main Marvel Snap channel. They have them coming, us coming out. So like just we're about to hit the year anniversary and like just seeing what they've been doing the last few months with the creators and the community, like has me so excited. So yeah, like I think they've been killing it. And it's one of the reasons I defend them and tell people to chill the fuck out, you know?
Well, but speaking of Cozy, Cozy also chimed in on this wonderful debate in regards to Loki. And he said very simply, life as a game designer has to be rough sometimes. New season pass card is bad equals outrage, angry emoji. Is good equals outrage, angry emoji. Nerf season pass card to make it more balanced equals outrage, very angry emoji. And of course, you have a bunch of people coming in saying, their own piece in regards to Loki, just like we've said. KM Best, we've already talked about, he chimed in saying they have a good track record and misses happen. I just want them to deal with it as soon as possible. Cozy asked, curious, what would be your ideal fix? Should he be a 3/3, a 3/4, have collector only proc once? KM Best says a couple ideas. Swap Mobius and Alioth release dates. We're on the same page there, KM Best. Bump him up to like 4 or 5. Give him a minimum 1 clause like Sarah or Quinjet. Timeout.
Hmm?
I want to address that real quick. Give him a minimum 1 clause like Sarah Quinjet. Yeah, please do. Guess what? I won't give a shit. How often, Chris, do you pull 1-drops from Loki?
Wait, does he take him down to 0?
He does. Beast.
That's how how often it never happens. I don't think I've ever received a 0-cost card, and I've played probably well over 100. I'd say 200 maybe games. Like so far, it might even be more. I don't know. I've been playing so much Marvel Snap just because I love the card. So I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah,
so.
And Glenn was asked about this, and they're like, "Well, why does he do that?" And he's like, "Well, these cards like Quinja and Sarah don't do it because they're ongoing effects and they're blanket effects. Cards like Loki, he views in the same vein as Beast. It's an on reveal. You have to put in the energy to get it, and it's a one-time hit. So he's okay with the reduction." Even if they brought it down to 1, I don't think that makes any difference in regards to Loki, in all honesty. Then he says maybe all 3. I don't think he's unbeatable per se, just like really, 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 really strong with really, really, really bad mirrors. Well, yeah, again, no shit, the mirrors are going to be bad because it is just a race at that point, and people just want to play the fun card.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like I think they're fun. It's like, oh, you're trying to do the thing. I'm trying to do the thing too. Like here's a good example.
You got to see the forest for the trees.
Yeah, what's his Glap? So GLAP. You can follow him on Twitter. It says Glap. He sponsored the second Creator Clash, but I ran into him on the ladder last night, and Bar with No Name was out there, and I wasn't sure what deck he was playing. He probably wasn't sure what I was playing, and it was just like this funny situation of like, all right, is either one of us running Legion? I thought I was like, fooling him. I was putting out my kitty, but making sure I didn't have too much power out there and stuff, and then he ended up Legioning before I Legion. But anyways, it's like, it's a fun, like for me, it's kind of fun, right? It's just like, okay, when we're playing our Loki mirror matches, who's going to be able to do the thing? Oh, you're doing the thing and I'm doing the thing? Because sometimes you both have the thing. It's like, who played it better, or whatever it is. So like, I don't know. It's just, I don't find it as frustrating. There's only been a few times I've been just so frustrated at the game, mainly when it was the old leader, right? Like the old Leech leader, like that was infuriating to me. But ever since then, like I've changed my tune. I've mentioned it before because I've seen what happens when you over nerf cards. Other decks can run rampant, right? But with what Cozy was saying too, like, yeah, it fucking sucks to be a game developer. Like, I don't know if I could stay sober working at Second Dinner and having any kind of public facing job. Like, think about it. People want more access to cards. Hey, make it so more people get cards. And even though, like, by the numbers, spotlight caches are better. Anyways, then when everybody gets a card, well, I don't like the Mura matches. The Mura matches make me sad. Okay, well, do you understand that if we did the thing you wanted and made it so more people can get more cards, you're going to run into these mirrors all the time? Like I said that when High Evo came out. I was like, I wonder if this is having people rethink about cards being more widely accessible. You know what I mean? Like, you're just so damned if you do, damned if you don't. You release a bad card, you release a strong card.
I think this comes back to an issue that we brought up before, at least I've brought up before, where I'm not a big fan of the trickle releases of once a week because you run into these problems. I kind of wish, I know it's more fun, but look, let's rethink the Spotlight Cache to a certain extent. Like, let's do this. Here, I have a perfect idea. Okay. When you have a month come out, our new cards are the season pass card being Loki, Alioth, Renslayer, and Mobius, right? 4 new cards. Cool. You get the season pass, you get Loki. Very nice. There's your season pass card. Now, immediately, let's bump back up the token acquisition so people can actually have agency in buying the cards. And now, all of those cards, Alioth, Renslayer, and Mobius, they're all out there. You can go buy them. Any one of them. Right now. Go do it. And then you can still keep to the weekly spotlight for those who don't want to spend tokens to allow themselves a chance to still do it that way. I think that should be the way it should be done because when you have single releases, it's gonna happen next week too, guys. It's just gonna be a bunch of
Yeah.
Galactus,
Yeah,
right?
that's the thing. Like, everything's very fast, and that's why like I'm very on the fence about like what you're talking about, because it's like the only card game where they're doing releases in this kind of model,
Mhm.
right? From what I understand
Yeah.
about other card games, they do like these dumps. They release multiple cards. So
Full
I always
sets.
think. I always think back to this first when the token shop came out and all those cards that dropped like 20 of them, Series 4, Series 5, here you go. Here's some free tokens for your collection level, like go crazy, right? But here's my counter to that though. It's the way, and I'm sorry, dear listener, you know I love you, and if you listen to us, you don't fall into this group, but so many people in the fucking Marvel Snap community are just a bunch of fucking sheep. They're just a bunch of sheep, Brad. They're like somebody over here fucking herding them over, just like, hey, this is the best deck. And they're like, bah, right? And they fucking run over there, right? So all it takes is one or two creators to say, like, let's just use your model real quick. And which I like the idea, but I understand the psychology of these fucking community. They do that, then fucking one of the top creators gets this card instead of that card, right? And they say, this is the best deck, or one of these cards wins the tournament. Everybody's like, oh my God, I just wasted my tokens on this other card, right? Like, it's just what always fucking happens. I see it with the Spotlight caches already, right? So you have multiple cards that week, and then people were reading into the hype about one card, doing it, then realizing another card is really good because of an OTA or a meta shift or whatever, and they're like, oh my God, I spent my spotlight on this. And it's like, the deck you were gonna build is probably still fine, but you're just listening to the hype. So that's why I don't know. Like, I think it would be cool, and maybe a balance is if they did the weekly releases, but then they did like a dump, right? Like every quarter, right? Like maybe they do it weekly, and then like on the third month, they're like, here's 20 cards. Do it weekly, here's 20 cards. And that would just
what if they did this? What if they did this? So rather than, okay, so we've had seasons where we got 5 new cards, right? Including season pass before, right? We've had that, right? I'm not going crazy.
Yeah, no, we have.
Okay.
Like the when Living Tribunal came out, I know that was 5.
So let's use that as an example. Okay, so every single month should be a very simple 4 new cards, right? And then your imaginary potential 5th card, right, is ready but thrown to the wayside. And it's like your little allowance. You're just like, every time you walk past the kitchen, go get your keys, take your change out of your pocket, okay, dump it in. Okay, do that every day, and then all of a sudden you get down to like that your quarter, and you're like, hey, here's 4 or 5 new cards. There you go, right then and there. Like, they should do a little stockpile. I think that'd be nice to have like a little bit of this influx of like a little bit of a reset.
Anytime I think about this, though, I'm just like, is this just me being a fucking ignorant asshole who doesn't understand game development, right? Because I'm like, hey, just make like a bunch of cards, make an extra card every month, and just put over. Like, I don't know the resources, but here's the other thing, Brad, because I know you and I kind of discussed this on Twitter. They just released like fucking Marvel Snap being like the most profitable fucking digital card game, and I'm really curious about their plans for expansion. I was actually looking at their website out of curiosity. They do have job postings for like game devs and stuff like that. It didn't look like multiple positions, but yeah, I'm like, hey, you guys are making fucking bank. Like, let's hire some more people and like have the bandwidth to do something like that, because there's like over 6,000 Marvel characters, but I understand, like, they have to talk about it. People like Glenn have to get involved and talk about the potential drawbacks, or is this going to be too powerful, or is this going to be too weak, all that other stuff. Plus they're doing the regular OTAs and balance patches. So I don't know, I feel like they need a larger team, because it feels like they're still in startup mode. You know what I mean? So whenever I think about massive dumps of cards, I'm just like, am I just being ignorant? You know what I mean? So I don't know, like how much.
I think they can do it with the data mines that we've seen, which I guess we'll have to talk about the data mines next week, or suppose whenever we do.
Yeah, but how many? They just released it for like the next 3 months. Like,
yeah, there's a shit ton of cards. Like, there's like the Nico one where it's like fucking all the spells. Like, it's fucking crazy.
There's so much going on. Like the new card, we'll talk about that soon. The new card's coming out, like, it's insane. It feels like the game's gonna totally just change. Like, there's just so many weird, interesting cards coming out. But yeah, Loki's fun. I think he's fine. I don't know. What are you gonna keep playing Loki? Are you just playing him to infinite? Did you already hit infinite? You know my fucking son hit infinite before me?
That's all.
He just hit infinite for the first time last month, and now he's just beating me to it. He got more infinity borders than me last month. What the fuck?
Yeah, I have not hit infinite yet. I've just been playing a bunch of different decks and like just trying shit out. I'm in like the mid 90s right now. I'm like at 95, 96. So
Yeah.
like I'll hit it. It's not a big deal. I'm not too worried. Like it's just I do wish, because like you mentioned like how KM Best in his one tweet said Loki was broken, and you read it as like, oh, you're giving the wrong like idea to like people for like getting this card or things like that, or like you're adding to like the idea of like, oh, he needs to be changed or whatever. Do you know how I read it? I read it just as creator saying this is broken, play this card, and I was just like, and like it could be either one, but I'm so tired of seeing creators saying play this deck, it's the best deck, it's the best card, it's the best this, it's the best that, and I'm just like, please. And like then all these people are going like, this is the fastest infinite I've ever fucking had, and I'm like, yes. Do you know why? Because when everyone's playing in this release, it probably happened during High Evo season too, when it's nothing but mirror matches and there's no interaction. If you hit a good hot streak of I had the cards, my opponent didn't, and like you win in that fashion, yes, you're gonna run hot. And a lot of creators are better than the average player, so that's gonna add to it. Like it doesn't speak volumes to Loki as a card. Yes, I think he's strong. I think he's very strong. I think he's a really cool card. But to sit here and say he's broken and he needs to be changed because you fucking hit infinite in like the first couple days because his release is
first couple hours.
Fucking it's bullshit. It's asinine. It's ridiculous, and it's infuriating. Because I'm sorry, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, hitting infinite, it's not impressive. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for a lot of people, and I empathize with you who struggle to do it. I really do, because I know it can be. It's seeing that number go down and stuff, and it's fucking. It takes a lot of mental fortitude to just be like, I will retreat and we'll get them next time. It's like I lost the battle but not the war type of mentality. That's all ladder is. And once you master the ability of snapping when you have really good hand and retreating when you really need to, or staying in when you should, and just doing that simple thing, you can win 40% of your fucking games and hit infinite. That's all that matters. All it takes is an 8 cuber or two and you're up an entire level. Yeah. So for creators that say, this is the deck to hit infinite, this deck got me to hit infinite because it's so fucking good, fuck them. They are just trying to get you to be clickbaited, and I will not shy away from that. I cannot stand that shit. Now, if they say something about Conquest, I'll give a bit more leeway. I think there's a lot more play to it. But until Snap has a true great representation of competitive games or a competitive mode, which Conquest is almost there but not quite, it doesn't mean jack shit. Fucking have fun, play what you want, don't give a shit about what other people say about the decks and the cards, and just enjoy the game. Like, it's so I can't fucking stand it.
I didn't know we were having a real talk time, but no, I'm sorry, dear listener. Hitting infinite doesn't mean shit. Infinity borders barely mean shit. but with what you're saying, like the way you read KM Best thing, and like Snap creators who do that, Brad was just talking shit about me. No, but I vented about
clickbaiting shill.
I vented about this in a recent video, Like I am a fucking moron because I try to do things like the right way, what I deem ethical from my own moral standards and stuff like that. I have always tried to show my losses. If I'm being fully transparent, it makes it easier to edit too. I don't gotta fucking sit there. Because when I first started my YouTube channel, I tried to only do the wins, but sometimes I would play like 20 games, get like 2 wins and be like, oh, I can't do that, right? But anyways, now that I'm better, it's like going a lot faster, right? But anyways, I vented about this because I can't tell, and it's almost like it's both of these, right? I can't tell if it's the YouTube algorithm or it's the viewer, right? So like, if viewers want to get clickbaited, if they want to believe, right? And if they only want to see highlights, if they only want to see the wins, that's, that's what we're going to make. That's like, hey, basic capitalism, baby, supply and demand. If that's what they want, that's what they're going to get. But I don't know if the algorithm is only pushing those ones, if it's only pushing ones that are like using that kind of language in it. So which one is it? So because I've had a few people say like, oh no, I like when you show the losses or whatever, and I'm just like, okay, but I got a kid to feed and I got to make sure my time is used like correctly. You know what I'm saying? So it's tricky. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I wish I could foster an audience and get the views that Educated Collins does, because he could just do educational shit and it gets views. When I do it, they're usually mid. They're not like my best videos, but they're not my worst. They're like right in the middle. So it's tricky, right? I try to, once I get them in it's what I call ethical clickbait. You get them in the door and then you say, hey, this deck's pretty good, but going back to what you were saying too, people hitting infinite in a day, please don't feel bad if you're not hitting it. Just have fun. Most of the people are playing against bots. I don't know what it is this season, probably because I dicked around so much in ranked post-infinite last season. I'm facing like no bots. The last 2 seasons, bots took me straight to infinite, and now I'm like barely seeing them. I'm watching other people, and you'll notice like creators don't tell you that. They're not like, yeah, I hit infinite a day, but I played against a bunch of bots. Sometimes they do if they're bitching about the bots. But yeah, now we have the ranked leaderboard, but from what I understand, that thing's like fucked right now.
Teddy played some games on stream last night, and he would win 8 cubers and then go down in rank.
Yeah, like
he's like, what?
I just saw so the human spider, he was number 1. Then Dara tweeted something and he's like, I'm number 1 on my Smurf account, but it was still showing human spider that he was number 1. So
yep. And he had 400 more XP or whatever the fucking thing is.
So we can't even really count that. I've always said infinite or ranks kind of like shit too, because people don't snap and retreat seriously. And in Conquest, I've noticed that more and more and more and more too. I've noticed more people who will just say fuck it and stay in on the dumbest moves, win 50-50s, like where an intelligent player would leave. Like if you're familiar with poker language, like it's fucking donkey shit, all right? It's people who stay in, make bad decisions, and then they get lucky, I want something in Marvel Snap where it's true competitive, and I don't know how to make that happen.
Sideboard best of 3. It is the formula in every other fucking TCG for the true competitive nature of a game. Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic, fucking Lorcana is probably going to have a sideboard, which is a very fun game, by the way. Very, very fun game. Dragon Ball Super, One Piece, all these fucking games have best of 3 and sideboards. Why can't Snap? Like, just I love Conquest, but dude, if it just just give me give me a league, give us better prize support for let us win gold and shit in them. Like, just you put in like 500 gold to enter, but you have a chance to win 2,000 gold if you go on a 5-0 run or a 7-0 run. Like, other games do that. Stop being so fucking stingy on your gold. Give people the chance to, if you want a competitive mode, give them incentive. There's no incentive. The Infinity Border looks great now, by the way, but I don't give a shit about getting them anymore. Yeah,
no, the thing is, I said this on Twitter, it looks great, but still, there's nothing differentiating. Do I have 1 Infinity Border, or do I have 100? Right? Because it's clearly harder to get 100 than it is to get 1. But you could put me up next to Lambie, who has 1,000 of them, you wouldn't know the difference. So they would need something there, like a number, right? Like an X, this many times I've gotten it. And yeah, you got to get into the psychological aspect. But yeah, like you're saying, we need sideboards, best of 3. Glenn touched on it before, and he said
he said no. And I was just
we're trying to make it fast. And I'm just And I'm hoping they change their tune, because they're just really all in on Conquest mode and just promoting it to everybody. And I think at some point, or I hope at some point, they're going to be like, we have a competitive community. Here's something for you. Because his reasoning was that Marvel Snap's supposed to be played fast, right? And not only are there
You
solutions to
have
that,
best of one mode. People are not gonna. People
yeah,
who want to play Marvel Snap fast aren't gonna play Conquest. They already don't. They already stick with ladder. So the people, and there's the same thing in fucking Magic. There's a best of one ladder versus a best of three ladder. The metas are different. People play different things there. If you want to play the faster game, you go play best of one. If you want to play the more competitive
yeah,
game, you go play best of three. Holy fucking shit. Like, I get it. I understand you don't want to split up your player base, but you just showcased one of the most massive, fucking incredible growths of a single game I've ever seen with the Twitch drops and all these streams and hundreds of thousands of people watching. And I guarantee you that's probably why we're not seeing as many bots, because more people are in the game. So when you basically
yeah,
when you bloat the under, like the early echelon of like player base, those other people that are towards the top get pushed ahead. Like I feel like that's what's going on to an extent. I know the player base is massive. I know it's massive. People that say it's dying are full of shit. Get the fuck out
yeah.
of
They're
here
like,
with that.
I have a friend. I have a friend who stopped playing, so the game's dead. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you're still talking about it 24/7, so you're making up for him and probably some other people who left. But yeah, like I can't tell you how frustrating it was. I was trying to get some infinity borders, and it was just one of those things because you know people. There's not rigged matchmaking in Marvel Snap, but every time I would switch decks, like or I'd swap out Shadow King for Shang-Chi, like I'd go up against the one it didn't work against. You know what I mean? Where I needed the other one. So like a sideboard would just boom, it would just solve that. It would solve that so quick. And I want it so bad. But yeah, I do want something more competitive, something with stakes. And I get it. I played in like poker tournaments and stuff like that. You're gonna have people who are just bad and play stupid and get lucky. But I feel like right now in both ranked and in conquest mode, there's like far too many. So hopefully soon. But yeah, yeah, I just want to reiterate: if you're not hitting infinite, don't feel terrible. Your road to infinite is a lot different than other people's. You know what I mean? So yeah, because like right now, like I played all last night on stream. I streamed for like 4.5 hours. I got up to 90, and then I got up to like 95, 96, and I kept dropping down to 93, going back to 96, dropping down to 93, going up to 96. Like it was just a
Every month.
nightmare. But we're 48 hours into it. So, anyways, you're good. Loki's fine. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, just just play different decks. Don't focus so much on the new thing. Like enjoy
Yeah.
the new thing, but like don't sit there and complain when other people are doing what you're doing and enjoying the new thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I just really want to just emphasize like, and this is like a life strategy. If you're running into a challenge, like take a step back, take out a pen and paper, say, what problem am I facing? What are solutions to this problem? Like when you're looking at a Loki deck, like we have tech cards in the game. You know what I mean? Like just use them. Hell, run Shadow King with Absorbing Man. Go fucking nuts. I don't give a shit. Like there's stuff that you can be doing. But yeah, that's all we got. And then yeah, maybe next time we'll go through the 5 million fucking data mine cards.
God. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. So are you working on anything? You got anything new and exciting?
I do.
Oh,
I
wasn't expecting an answer.
I know. I was brainstorming it today. I'm maybe gonna start it next week. It could be the week after. I'm trying to figure out a schedule for it, and I'm trying to figure out the exact setup and how I'm gonna approach it. But I have a rough idea of what I want to do, and I don't want to spoil anything too much. But what I will say is, for those of you who watch sports or enjoy watching like ESPN or sports talk radio and things like that, I'm trying to bring that to Marvel Snap.
Ooh.
So it's what I'll it's what I'll gonna give a little tease for. But I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be really cool.
Fancy. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm not working on anything. I'm just doing deck videos. I'm having a blast playing Marvel Snap. I really enjoy it. I think like even though it seems like people are only playing Loki, I have my list that I'm currently building for my monthly here's decks that hit infinite, and like there's such a variety on here. There's some really cool decks. I want to try them out. So yeah, I'm just gonna be doing deck videos, and if other things I feel like tossing in there, I will. So, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. But cool.
All right.
All right. That was fun.
Yeah.
Nice little emergency.
Enjoy Loki. It was a great emergency. We will see you next week when we go over hopefully the aftermath of all this shit. We'll see what happens. But as always, we love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.
Peace.